Hi folks, welcome to Whiskey Web Wednesday. Hope you're having a lovely day. Thanks for joining me for this video. Time to crack a bottle of Outer Hebrides gin. I believe it was just World Gin Day on Saturday or Sunday there, so I thought I would crack this bottle open, which was kindly sent to me because there was a wee delay with the private cask that I'm buying from the Outer Hebrides Distillery on the west coast of Scotland. So this was a lovely gesture from those kind folk in Harris, so thank you very much for that. And I thought this would be a golden opportunity to talk about buying a private cask in Scotland especially, and some of the factors involved. So if you've ever considered buying a cask for yourselves or for a group of people, then it's good to know a few of the basics before you go in there and start asking questions. So let me talk you through my experience with the Isle of Harris private cask purchase, and hopefully this benefits you when you're buying your own casks. So I've done a little doodle here, and I hope that's clear for you. But this just shows some of the factors that are involved. So in the cask that I'm buying from the Isle of Harris Distillery, it is a first fill ex-bourbon cask, and it's American oak. So that's the kind of wood that we're going to be filling the spirit into. And it's a 200 litre cask. And for this private cask, we're expecting an angel share of 1 to 2% per year. So you're going to see that 200 litres drop down over time. I'm expecting the cask to be aged for around 10 years. So by that time I would probably see about 170 to 175 litres left in the cask after that time. But obviously if you bottled earlier, and that's often your choice as a private cask owner, you're going to end up with more spirit left in there. So you might end up with more like 180 litres or 185. So it's really up to you, and this is one of the beauties of owning your own cask, is you get to direct the journey, so to speak. You're in the director's seat with your action board, so you get to choose how your whiskey comes out. So for this private cask as well, we got to have a rare opportunity of experiencing a heavily peated Isle of Harris whiskey. So the typical whiskey is going to be medium peated, whereas this one is going to be heavily peated 40 parts per million peat phenol. And part of the reason there was a delay for this cask, originally it was supposed to be bottled, I think, or filled in January 2020, but there was a problem with the peat, so they sent a batch of peat off to the mainland to be malted to make this heavily peated barley. They got the results back, and it wasn't quite what they were looking for. But thankfully, because they care so much about quality, they wanted to do it right and give all those private cask owners the best possible product. So they did it again, sent it back, got another batch of peated barley, and then this time we're actually going to fill the cask. So everything's looking good, and it's initially you have to put in £1,500 deposit, so that was the first payment to secure the barrel. And now that it's about to be filled, the rest of the first stage, which is £1,750, is paid, and then the cask is filled with spirit and begins its maturation journey. So the total cost of the cask after 10 years is going to be around £8,500. And I've split that into 20 shares within the cask, so each is going to be about £425 in total. Now the problem with whiskey in the UK is that the taxman likes to take a rather large bite out of the sandwich. So a big chunk of this cost is going to be taxes. So when we bottle in 10 years time, this is like current duty rates, but they may be different in the future, so that's why it's a bit uncertain. But £29 per litre of absolute alcohol. So we could have, maybe 100 to 120 litres of absolute alcohol in this cask after 10 years. And yeah, VAT 20% as well, so 20% of the final price of the whisky is going to be taxed as value-added tax as well. So both of these taxes are very significant. They add up to more than half the price of the cask. That's going to be about £4,500, maybe more depending on what the duties are at the time and what happens with the tax rates. So that's the painful part, but the good part is from this cask you're going to get either 260 bottles at 55% alcohol or 310 bottles at 46% alcohol. These are estimates because you're not quite sure what the Angels are going to take, but it gives you a rough idea of the amount of bottles you're going to get from each cask, depending on what strength you choose to bottle at. So if you do a 46% ABV bottling, you're going to have about £30 per bottle in terms of your bottle cost. If you do 55%, then you're looking more at like £34 per bottle, so not a great deal in it. And I think with the extra strength it gives you a bit more flexibility in terms of how people like to drink their whisky, and I think that's my preferred option for this private cask. When the spirit goes in the cask, it's typically around 63.5%. I think for the Isle of Harris it's going to be about 63, around there. And what tends to happen is the ABV drops through time. So this may be, you know, like 60% by the time it's 10 years, or maybe 59, something like that. So all these little factors, you know, nature plays its part. You got the beautiful warehouse there in Ardiseg, where you're just going to get battered by Atlantic storms in the winter, and then in the summer you got that lovely like macaire grasses nearby. So it's going to be a beautiful environment for maturing this whisky, and I'm really excited about how this is going to turn out. And you actually get to follow the journey as you go. So they're going to provide 100ml samples at year 4, 7 and 10. So we get to taste it as it goes along, and that's going to be fascinating as well. So I hope that helps you understand what the private cask buying process is like and some of the costs involved. It might seem a lot at first, you know, like £8,500, which is more like, say, $1,500 or something around there. But by the time you break it down into the per bottle cost, it's really good value for the quality of the whisky you're getting, and for the scarcity of it as well. This is going to be a unique product particular to you or your club, so I think it's a worthwhile adventure. And one final point about all this is you are insured if you have warehouse insurance. So part of the contract that was signed, if there's any leakage or anything like that, they will honour the amount that you would expect to get. So there'll be either substitution or filling, you know, so if there's any problems with the cask, you don't have to worry, they will make it good. So yeah, that gives you reassurance that you're not going to open the cask after 10 years and find there's only 2 bottles worth in there. So yeah, that helps. And while we're on the subject of private cask ownership, we have an exciting delivery due very soon at Shelter Point Distillery here in Oyster River, Vancouver Island, BC, Canada. We're about to take a shipment of Ardbeg casks. Now these have previously held, I think, 10-year-old Ardbeg in them, or even older, and they've been sent all the way from Scotland, and they're due to arrive any day now. So we're going to be filling these casks with our own new make spirit and whisky that's previously been matured in ex-bourbon as well. And there's an opportunity for you to take part in this exciting project. So if you like to buy a cask, then you can do that through the Shelter Point Distillery website. If you use the contacts there, we'll let you know all about it. I think it's around $10,000 a cask for an Ardbeg, so it's actually cheaper than buying in Scotland, because we have lower rates of duty over here, and yeah, we just don't have the same cost base as some of the Scottish businesses. So that's an exciting opportunity for you, and yeah, hopefully you find a good cask at some point in your lives to share amongst family and friends. Here's to the Isle of Harris and to the wonderful opportunity to buy a heavily peated cask of Herich whisky. So cheers everyone, and let me know about your own private cask buying adventures. Cheers.